On the outskirts of an abandoned town, in an old mansion, lived Alexander. He spent the night alone, immersed in reading ancient books. It was midnight, and he decided that it was time to put off reading and go into the arms of Morpheus, especially since he had nothing to do the next day. Putting the book on the table next to his bed, Alexander extinguished the candle and went to bed. His thoughts began to wander between the pages of history he had just read and plans for the future: a visit to the old cemetery hill, exploring the abandoned rooms of the mansion, and much more. However, he quickly shoved those thoughts away, deciding they weren't worth the bother. His thoughts then turned to the strange legends surrounding the house. After a while, lying in the dark, Alexander tried to free his mind from all thoughts. He turned over on his side, assumed a comfortable sleeping position, and prepared to plunge into a second journey into the realm of dreams. But he could not get rid of his thoughts completely, and they began to seem vague and hazy, suggesting that he would sleep soon. Suddenly his heart began to beat in panic. Alexander realized that the dream had faded away. Rolling over onto his other side, he felt anger. He had heard that a strong cough helped in such cases, and the method worked, but only for a moment. The struggle to sleep continued into the third hour. The ominous creaking of the ancient floorboards added to the discomfort. Alexander was on edge, but remembered that there had long been no living souls in the house except him. This startled him at first, but he quickly found an explanation. Maybe it's the wind, he thought. 10 minutes later, he heard a loud creaking sound that reverberated throughout the house. This startled him more than anything else, but the explanation came quickly. The old house always makes noise at night. Despite his attempts to rationalize what was happening, his heart was pounding harder and harder. Alexander decided that he would never be able to sleep again, and reached for the book he had left on the table. As he tried to fumble for the book, he accidentally dropped it to the floor, and it fell with a clatter. Alexander cursed himself and reached to the floor to pick it up. But there was no way to find the book by feel, so he decided to light a candle. Climbing out of bed, he rummaged in the dark for matches, but the fire still wouldn't light. Alexander was ready to panic, but quickly realized that the house could be haunted. He immediately threw himself back into bed, covering himself with a blanket. The sounds in the house faded. Suddenly there was the vibrating sound of a book falling to the floor in the darkness. Alexander didn't feel like getting up. His heart raced again in panic, but he decided to wait until there was silence. After a while, the house fell into silence again. Alexander almost calmed himself, thinking that everything that was happening was just a play of his imagination. With this thought, he fell asleep. When he woke up the next day, he picked up the book from the floor and saw that strange symbols had appeared on its pages. His first thought was to study them, for despite the horror he had experienced, his curiosity got the best of him. But Alexander decided that it was better to leave the mystery unsolved. Thank you, my dear listeners, for your attention to my story. I hope it left you with a lot of emotions and maybe even some goosebumps. If you liked this story, don't forget to put a like and subscribe to my channel. Your support inspires me to create new and even more fascinating stories just for you. See you in the world of mysteries and mysteries.